All right, I'm gonna start off showing you the first couple steps that I took to get ready to build this wooden play set. So this is gonna be a homemade wooden play set, swing set that I'm building for my daughter. It's gonna be a Christmas present. I don't have a ton of time, so it's gonna be a pretty simple build. It's gonna be able to knock it out in about a day and a half, tops 2 days. Just want to walk you through a couple of the major things as I complete them. It's not going to be a full step-by-step tutorial of how to build this. I'm assuming anyone that's wanting to build kind of a DIY play set out of wood probably has a little bit of experience in construction. So not going to go step by step and make this a 30-minute video, but we'll kind of highlight some of the features as I go along. So the first thing that I did when I got started was went ahead and built the base. It's only going to be 1 2x6 high, but I'll kind of show you why I stacked it this way for ease of assembly. So it's a 4x4 frame. I've already kind of almost decided that I kind of wish I would have went 5x5 on the size of the, I guess the tower where the slide is going to come from. But all my materials that I've already purchased is all for a 4x4 base. There are several plans that I looked at online ahead of time, and that's kind of one of the ones that I picked. But if I was doing it over, I would probably go 5x5. It's going to be plenty of big enough for my children right now, but they will probably outgrow it quicker being a 4x4, and I would get a little longer use out of it if I went a little bigger. So my bottom's treated 2x6s, so this isn't exactly 4x4, so 2 of the boards obviously were cut 3 inches shorter to fit inside. So your total dimensions are 4 foot by 4 foot. Went ahead and got these assembled around the bottom. This one that's on top here that you see is actually going to be the deck platform that's going to be about 5 foot high. So when I get ready to stand these 4x4 posts up, I will go ahead and secure them to the bottom, and then I will be able to just take that other 2x6 frame and slide it up to the 5 foot height. As you can see, I've already got one screw started, both top and bottom, and essentially this is going to allow me to, because I'm working by myself, so once I get those posts in, I'll be able to pick this up and secure it by myself up at a higher location. So you'll see that there. So that's step 1. Step 2, I'll go ahead and set this up. We're going to go ahead and stand up these 4x4 posts. Maybe you'll be able to see everything there. All right, I only put 1 screw in the bottom. That's definitely not going to hold much. I actually want to be able to take it out. My only goal is, as I begin to raise this second one up, I don't want it to kick the bottom post out. So I've got it set up to where, hopefully by myself, since I have no one else to help today, I'm going to be able to slide this up to about the 5 foot height. And this is the way, without having to try to set it over the top or try to build it with these wobbling, I thought would be easier, so we're going to give it a try. All right, so it picks up pretty easy, again, because these will move. Problem is I don't have a way to hold it up once I get it up there and screw it in myself. So I'm gonna cut a couple of boards that I can set up under it, and then that should have it ready to go. All right, probably wouldn't recommend doing it completely by yourself the way I just tried it. You may have saw on a little bit of it there. I ended up having to cut the video and edit a little bit of how I was doing it. My original plan was just to slide it up the post and be able to screw it in. Posts are 10 foot tall, so it was way too tall. With just a couple of screws in, it started leaning in more than I thought it would. It would have worked really easy with 2 people. So if you've got another person and you can pull it up, obviously have your lines pre-marked ahead of time, and then they can screw it in, it would work well. By myself, what I ended up having to do was just pick it up a few feet, go ahead and screw it in, and I just walked around. So I picked up one corner, hit it a foot high, go to the other corner, move it up to where it was level, and I kind of just rocked it up, putting screws in just an inch or so to hold till I got it up here. So at this time now, I'm gonna go back and level up some of my posts, but my deck height is 5 foot from the ground. So basically I would hook my tape on the bottom of this 2x6 at the bottom, and I would come around and make sure that I was exactly 5 foot from there. So I've got that done. I'm still going to adjust a little bit. I want to build everything completely level. So now that I'm at this place here, I'm going to level up my bottom, because obviously I'm not on level ground. So I'm going to go get some blocks, some 2x4s, and kind of level up my base so that everything I'm working off of is level, and then I'll kind of adjust accordingly. So, but that's the first step or two, is to get here. Now I'm going to take a little bit, won't do it on video for sake of time, but I'll make sure I've got it square, check my diagonals, and then I will get everything level on the ground. Once I do that, I'm ready to start putting in my floor. I'll go ahead and lay my 5/4 boards up here and on the bottom, and that's going to allow me to go ahead and have some of this taken care of. That will kind of strengthen the base before I start working on the sidewall. So I'll update you once I have everything square and I'm ready to start laying the floor down. Then I've come back around now and putting lag screws in. So there's some 3-inch structural screws in there as well, but coming back with the lag screws to kind of tie everything together. So I'll kind of show you how I did that, because my posts still weren't level up to this point. And so I left this last one here, kind of show you the best way to do that. So the best way I found to do this, I went ahead and get my lag screws started. All of them are already level, so this one should be somewhat close. But then I'll take my level and go ahead and get this post. I said it's gonna be level, it's not. Get this post level, left to right. So I've got to push it a good bit in order to get it level. And then same thing on this side. So I'll go ahead and do this one so you can kind of see. Top of my post has to go to the left a decent amount. Almost got it there. Alright, so once I get it where I want it, and that'll hold. So I did that all the way around, and now I have all my posts that are perfectly level. My base down here level, this top part level. I'm gonna finish putting in a couple of lag screws to secure it, and then I'll be ready for the deck boards to go across. All right, I've got the decking boards on the 2 platforms now. So this is the one here at the bottom, just to kind of show you how I did this. I started out with these 3 boards right here first. So I came in and went right against my post, next to it, left a gap right here in the middle, next to the post, second board, third board, came back and ripped this board to fit whatever that gap was in the center. But I did this so I could flush these up straight with my post. I left this one open to show you. So this is where the last board would come on. I did run two 2x6s as kind of some joist bracing underneath. Did the same thing here. So as my boards come across, I screw on the edges here, here, and at the end. This is 48 inches, so these end up being 16 inches on center. And then I came back, you can see right here, and it would just notch out for this 4x4 post on my last piece. So here's an example here. Just notched out and slid it in there. Same thing here at the top. So that's got my platform finished now. So now I'm ready to start building the sidewalls. I'll get a couple of those braces put up and come back and explain that process as well. All right, so I've started on some of the sidewalls. So just to give you reference, this is going to be the front. So really working on the sidewalls on the bottom right now. So my plan is to create a little play area on the bottom, store toys, whatever. This side's going to be left open for now. I'm eventually going to put a gate on this side that will swing open with hinges and have a latch. So for right now, this side's going to stay open. That gate would just fit in between those 4x4 posts. So on the rest of the sides, I'm going to have like the little picket fence type looking sidewalls. So I went ahead and ran my 2x4s on top and bottom. So just to give you the measurements on these, I wanted my front and back to kind of cap off the 2x4s coming out on the side right here. So I started with these. They're 45 inches. That goes from outside of post to outside of post. And then the front and back, I overlapped 1.5 inches right here to cover this 2x4, flushed it up with this post. So for my build, these were 46.5 inches long. The bottom of the 2x4 right here is 3 inches off of the deck board to the bottom of this 2x4. And then the entire picket fence sidewall from the bottom of this bottom 2x4 right here to the top of this one right here is 24 inches. So I'm fixing to go cut my slats now to build the little picket wall, and I'll cut those at 24 inches and then they'll fit in there. I'll update you once I get those put on. I'm going to do the same thing up top, but I've kind of stopped for now because the front is going to be open for the slide to come out here on the front, and I'm still working on how I want to design that. And the back's going to be open for the stairs. So we're going to go ahead and get this bottom finished up and I'll show you it, then we'll work on the top. All right, so the bottom picket style fence or siding is finished. So that's the front side. This would be the side where the swings come off of, back side, and of course we left the far left hand side open for a gate to go in, make a little play or a storage area for toys. On my build, again, this is a 4x4. The spacing between each of these was 4 3/4 inches. So if you wanted to get that spacing down, this same spacing between the posts and the first little picket there, 4 3/4 ended up being the spacing. I ended up cutting these about 23.5 inches long. That way I could get them almost flush or just slightly shorter than the top and didn't have to worry about the bottom sticking out. So that's what I'm doing for the sides. The top will match it very similar once I figure out how I want to do the design for the slide and the staircase coming. All right, so next step complete. So this is the front. So this is kind of how I designed the opening. Wanted to kind of somewhat follow the picket look that I had going, but wanted it to be secure, and so to be handling it. So this is the opening for the slide. Mine's 20 inches wide, but this is pretty secure. I've got screws angled in on this 2x4 right here, coming in from this angle and right here into the decking board, and then of course fastened up at the top. So front and back is going to look identical for the steps and then for the slide. So this is the front for the slide. This is the left-hand side, solid up top, open at the bottom for the gate and a little play area. This will be the side where my beam will come right here for my swings. And then this will be the back stairs going up. So that's how the top railing and the bottom railing ended up. I'm finished with the railing. So now I'm working on the roof, which I will build on the ground. And then so here's the roof that I have built on the ground. So somewhat simple. I'm gonna use this green play set, like roofing tarp that I bought on Amazon. So I've kind of built it for those dimensions to kind of show you how it'll all be set up. But essentially I built the frame first. I built it to where it'll be really snug and my post will be able to come up in each of these corners right here. And then after that, it really just depends on your height. If you're trying to mimic this exact build, I ended up going 52 inches wide on these pieces right here. Because that's how wide this green tarp is and I need to be able to fasten it. I set these in just a little bit so that the tarp would hang over and wouldn't be right at the edge of the wood. These are 45 inches, which are exactly the width of my post right there. So this would just slide on there. I did a 9 and 12 pitch. I wanted it pretty steep so water's not going to sit at all. So these are cut at a 9 and 12 pitch. That's around 36.5 or so degrees. And then you can kind of do it however. I made these actually touch just for aesthetic looks. It's not really holding any weight up, so I'm not worried about it. But I did make those longer to touch. And then see in the middle ones I shortened and fasten them right into the ridge board. So now that this is set, I'll take it up on the play set and be able to set it right down on top. I'm gonna go ahead and fasten some blocking up on my post. So my plan is to come in here and do some blocking on my post where I want it to sit, so that when I lift it up with my tractor and then bring it down from the top here, it'll slide down right onto those boards that I have there and set right in place, and then I'll fasten it on. So got the roof set on now. I didn't end up using the tractor. If you got a tractor, I definitely recommend that. It's much easier. I wanted to see if I could do it without equipment, so I did just take that up the ladder, got it kind of positioned in there, and then crawled in on that top deck and then lifted it up. So you can see some of the blocking I put on there just to catch it, otherwise it would slide all the way down. All right, now I've got the playhouse moved up to the house where it's going to sit. So this is going to be its final spot right here. I've already decided I don't like the way I did the roof with the green tarp, so that's going to change. I'm going to take that off, lower the roof down so that this isn't such a massively large tower. So you'll see that in just a second. Now I'm over to the steps. So to show you how to kind of do the wooden step ladder, kind of experimented a couple different ways and found kind of the angle that I want. Really depends on how steep you want it. But what I found out works really well and is somewhat standard is 25-degree angle. So that's what I have at the very bottom here. This is a 25-degree angle that's cut. And then the same thing up here. This would have been a 25-degree angle cut that matches on the bottom. So once you have those two cut, figure out the length of the board that you need to sit up where you want it. And then this is just a 90-degree cut off of the 25-degree cut. So I'm gonna show you on this one before I cut it real quick how that will look. So here is my angles here. Grab a couple things to show you. So essentially came on here with a speed square and set this at 25 degrees and drew this line. So this is going to be my angle cut for top and bottom. So I do that on both sides. So you can see here
once I have this line drawn, then basically you're doing somewhat like a bird's mouth that you would do for rafters. Typically you cut this piece out, but I'm going to, this is my top piece, as you can see. So this will be completely gone at this 25-degree angle. And then all I did was come in, I wrote it so you can see, 2.5 inches from the edge in. It's not really a set number that you have to use there. It's just 2.5 is what I wanted to use. So I measured 2.5 inches in and made a mark. And then I came in with my framing square and just pulled me a right triangle off of this line. So 2.5 inches in, came up, matched that up, and then I drew this line right here by my thumb to get that one. So now when I cut this out, you'll have kind of this point here, and this will be the piece. This side will rest up against the playhouse. This will be the top, and then it'll run down, and I'll have a 25-degree angle cut here as well. So I'll get this one cut out and then I'll show you on the steps. All right, so I've got my 2 2x6s I'm making my stairs out of, and I went ahead and I've laid out the lines for my steps. I've decided to do 6 steps on mine. It's gonna make the steps about 10 inches high, which is a little steep if you're thinking like normal steps, but I'm putting handles on there for them to like literally climb up. So 6 steps. The 7th step will be onto the platform. So I just kind of divided that out and figured it out. With the platform being 5 foot high, 6 steps is 10 inches per step. So all I did is I drew several lines here. These are at 25 degrees to match this angle here on the bottom. So it doesn't matter if you pull from this side or this side. I used the short side, but I just pulled and I made a little mark. There's 10 inches. That one was at 20 inches, 30 inches, and so on. Then I came back with my speed square, took the little mark that I had made and set my speed square up here. Made sure that I had it on my 25 inches here on the edge, and then drew that line, and that's how I got these. So I came down, lined it up with my 10-inch mark, 25 degrees, drew that line. So now that I have that mirrored on both sides, I'm ready to stand these up. And then I'm going to start taking these boards, that will be my steps, and I'm going to put these in and try to show you here. So a lot of people will come in with a dado, whether on a miter saw or table saw, dado this out. I'll tell you that's by far the best way to do it. It does take some time, and I'm not doing it that way. So I'm just going to come in and follow this line here, and I'm going to fasten these with 3 3-inch exterior construction screws to kind of hold these in place. And it's not going to last as long doing that. Doing the dado would have it'll last much longer. I'll just keep a check on it and pull the screws out and recut pieces as needed. I'm not going to take the time to do the dados, so I'll put this together and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so last video on the steps. This is kind of the finished product. So that's kind of what the top looks like. 25-degree angles on the bottom. Makes all of my steps perfectly level. 6 steps up. 7th step being onto the platform. 3 screws into each step to kind of hold them. 3 screws in to hold this to the frame. We'll put some handles up the side and then up top, and that's finished, ready to go. So now we'll move on to the next step. My next step is putting this beam on for all the swings. I went ahead while this was on the ground and pre-drilled all of these, got these spaced how I wanted them. I'm waiting for a few more to come in. I've got a couple holes here. This is 12 foot long. It's a 4x6 post that I'm using as the beam. 12 foot long. I'm gonna put 3 different swings in here, so plenty enough room for those 3. Here on the very end, I've already got this fastened on. I ordered this off of Amazon, just an A-frame bracket. There's a couple different ones. So I used the forks on my tractor to get this level, and so once I got the place set exactly where I want it, I'm gonna have it rested. I'll show you how I'm gonna secure that on that end, and then I just leveled it up. If you don't have a tractor to do this with, you can slide this beam all the way in to where the part for the 4x4 post is just barely hanging out right here. Especially if your ground's somewhat level, go ahead, while the playhouse is supporting your beam, you can go ahead and get your 4x4 post set out, and then you can just slide this out a little by little with a ladder. If you do have a tractor or some other way to hold this up, then this makes it somewhat easier. So I've got this set up. I'm gonna go grab my 4x4 post, get them slid in here and fastened, and then this part will be ready. All right, so I've gotten the post on now. So these are 8-foot long 4x4 posts. So I was able to hold the beam up with the tractor. Excuse me. Get that beam level, and then come in and put these 4x4 posts in to get it where I wanted it. So I've got those fastened in there. It's good and sturdy. Show you kind of what I did here. So I intentionally built this when I did the little picket fence siding so that my beam could rest on that. So all the weight on the beam is on that 2x4 running across, which is held up by these 2x4s and another 2x4. So don't have to worry about the weight of it sitting on that 2x4. I came in and put another 2x4 directly across the top of it, and then 2 more 2x4s on the side, and that basically just created a little slot or a box for that 4x6 beam to slide into. And then I fastened it with screws several different ways, so it's in there. When I set these with my legs out here, I was able to, I used a framing square, like a little T-square right here in the corner, to make sure that this was a 90-degree angle, and just move these legs inside and out. So you can see I went ahead, threw a couple of these on. I gotta adjust the length of the chains on a couple. Once my daughter starts playing with it, and see what height we need it at. So those are on. The back steps are on. Just put the slide on the front. I'm gonna build a little frame to go up underneath the slide to support it in the middle. And then I'm going to, once I have all that done, I'm gonna work on lowering this roof like we talked about. I'm gonna go to a different style than instead of using this green tarp I didn't really like yet. So I'm going to lower that down so it doesn't set up so high. This is a pretty large tower, so I'm gonna lower the top part of it a little bit. So I'm gonna build the frame for the slide. I'll show you that, and then I'll start working on the. All right, got the support piece in for the slide. It was pretty easy. Just took a tape measure and checked the height here. Mine was 34 inches. 2 2x4s at 34 inches, and then checked the width of this part of the slide. Mine was 13.5. So I cut 2 blocks of 13.5 to make this, and then that was it. I went ahead and put this piece in first, so to get the spacing done. I left the top one out. I slid these up in there, and then came through with a lag bolt on the side. Same on the other side, and then I took the 2x4 at an angle and pushed it up against the slide to offer support there. So now it's pretty sturdy. It's fastened at the top with 3 lag bolts, fastened here at the middle. Slide's not giving at all, so that part's ready to go. So now I'm gonna fix the roof and do something different that I like there, and then I will have everything completed. All right, so the place set is completely done. Played on it for a few days now. Got it set in the location it's gonna go. Finally getting back around to finishing the roof. So I mentioned before, didn't like the little green plastic tarp we had for the roof. So I've decided to put some 1x4 strips on it, and then put this beige plastic tin. It's not full metal, I think it cut on, but very lightweight plastic, has the tin look. So I'll put it on there and then show you what the finished product looks like. All right, I got my 1x4 boards on. I ran one at the very bottom, one at the very top, and then the other one's not quite dead in the middle. I put it more of where my tin was going to overlap, and I'll show you why I'm doing it this way.
So I'm actually not going to run my tin the way that you traditionally would. So you would traditionally run it kind of like it's sitting here, picked up with the ridges running down. For this plastic tin, they don't really have a ridge cap. And since it's really just a playhouse that's open, my goal is just keeping most of the rain out. It's going to blow sideways and still get in there. And it's kind of more for looks than it is for rain protection. So I'm actually going to run my tin horizontal. My pitch is at a 9 and 12. The ridges on this tin are not very high. The water still will probably run right over it, but I'm going to use that. So I will put my first piece on this bottom part. So it'll go up to this board here. That'll be my first horizontal piece. I'll do the same on the other side, and then I'll come back with one other piece and I'll overlap it and actually run it across the top. I'll show you what the finished one looks like once I do this. But doing it this way is going to basically serve as my ridge cap. Water's still going to run off fine and serve the purpose that I need for the playhouse. All right, so this is the finished product with the roof. Just like the way it looked better on the front and that tarp. Went with the beige color because it kind of matches the rest of our roofs around the property with that beige tan color. So this kind of matches. So I put the first two horizontal pieces on, kind of right here, same on the other side. Came back with the top piece and overlapped it on both sides. Because this is that PVC looking tin and not the actual metal, then it was able to bend right over the roof. So that's what the top ended up looking like. So this is the finished project. It ended up being 4 foot by 4 foot for this tower. Again, I'm gonna put a door, have a little play area on the bottom. The deck where the slide's attached is 5 foot high, and then another 5 foot from there. So it ended up being right at 10 foot up to this 2x4 here, and then of course the little pitch as well. So that's the finished project. About $750 total for the entire thing. About 200, maybe 250 in wood and roofing, and the rest of it was just the accessories, the bracket that's on the far right hand side there, all the slides, the swings, the handles, the accessories in there. The slide was by far the most expensive thing. 10 foot long slide to attach, 5 foot height. It's about $300. So if you had a slide, the rest of it's really not that expensive. So that's the finished project.